Okay. We're not going to watch it yet anyways. All right. Good morning. We're going to start by playing a game called Swap It Out. Okay, listen to my directions. So I'm going to say a word, and then you guys will swap out the first sound of the word for a new sound. Okay? So like if I say house that starts with it's mouse. Good. Okay, ready? Let's see. Pan that starts with the sound can. How about tan that starts with wait, you gotta listen to my sound. Ran. Sand that starts with What is it? Band, like a guitar or some drums. Rat that starts with Bat. You guys are good at this. Okay. Now I'm going to have you turn to your partner right beside you and think of another one. That starts with what? Cat that starts with what? Think of one, Jackson. Can you think of one? How about? Okay, all right. Back up here, first grade. Kincaid. Asher, you listening? All right. So yesterday you guys watched on the TV The Relatives Came, right?
Yeah.
Did you guys watch the story?
Yeah.
It's okay. It's still okay. So we're going to continue to read this book. We're going to look at it one more time, but I want to go over a couple vocabulary words first, okay? So one of our first vocabulary words is the word tend. T-E-N-D. Tend. Tend. In the story, it says the relatives stayed for weeks and weeks. They helped us tend the garden and fix any broken things they could. So tend is short for attend, which means to care for. So instead of the relatives attended the garden, they cared for the garden, they just say tend the garden. Okay? The next word is ice chest. Does anybody know what an ice chest is?
No.
What is it? Who said yeah? You know what it is, Daniel? You forgot?
Yeah, you just said that.
Ice chest. I have an example of one.
Cooler.
It's a cooler. Yeah. An ice chest is the same thing as a cooler. Keeps your food and your drinks warm. Or cold. Oh,
No,
warm.
warm.
What about the word?
And you could
What about a relative? What is a relative? Layla? Do you have an example of one? No, it's kind of like, it's someone who's in your family, right? A relative? It's someone who's like your cousin or your aunt and uncle. That's your relative. Okay? And it's related to you. That's right.
I have a cousin.
You have a, yep, see?
I got more than one.
What about the word mountains?
Mountains?
Yep.
It's a mountain.
Do you know what a mountain is?
A mountain. Mountain.
It's a mountain. Well, it's a large natural elevation of Earth's surface rising abruptly from the surrounding level. So if you go to Colorado, right besides there's lots of mountains, right? In Colorado? Yep. And then one more. Has anybody been to Virginia? This is where, in the story, the relatives come from. They come from Virginia. So it's all the way on the East Coast, okay? So now I'm going to play this video again. You know our key vocabulary words, so listen for them in the story, okay? And I want you specifically to watch or listen to the order that the relatives come. What do they do? The order, okay? Sequence. Let me play it. Excuse me, buddy. I'll send you the video too afterwards.
The relatives came. Author Cynthia Reliant. Illustrated by Stephen Gamble. Athenaeum Books for Young Readers, an imprint of Simon Schuster Children's Publishing Division. Copyright 1993. It was in the summer of the year when the relatives came. They came up from Virginia. They left when their grapes were nearly purple enough to pick, but not quite. They left at 4 in the morning when it was still dark, before even the birds were awake. They had an old stage wagon that smelled like a real car, and in it they put an ice chest full of soda pop, and some boxes of crackers, and some bologna sandwiches, and up they came from Virginia. They drove all day long and into the night, and while they traveled along, they looked at the strange houses and different mountains, and they thought about their almost purple grapes back home. They thought about Virginia, but they thought about us too, waiting for them. So they drank up all their pop and ate up all their crackers and traveled up all those miles until finally they pulled into our yard. Then it was hugging time. Talk about hugging. Those relatives just passed us all around their car, pulling us against their wrinkled Virginia clothes, crying sometimes. They hugged us for hours. Then it was into the house and so much laughing and shining faces and hugging in the doorways. You'd have to go through at least 4 different hugs to get from the kitchen to the front. Those relatives. And finally, after a big supper, 2 or 3 times around, until we all got a turn at the table, there was quiet talk, and we were in 2s and 3s throughout the house. The relatives weren't particular about beds, which was good, since there weren't any extras. So, a few squeezed in with us, and the rest slept on the floor, some with their arms thrown over the closest person, or some with an arm across one person and a leg across another. It was different going to sleep with all that new breathing in the house. The relatives stayed for weeks and weeks. They helped us tend the garden, and they fixed any broken things they could find. They ate up all our strawberries and melons, then promised we could eat up all their grapes and peaches when we came to Virginia. But none of us thought about Virginia much. We were so busy hugging and eating and breathing together. Finally, after a long time, the relatives loaded up their ice chests and headed back to Virginia at 4 in the morning. We stood there in our pajamas and waved them off in the dark. We watched the relatives disappear down the road. Then we crawled back into our beds that felt too big and too quiet. We fell asleep. And the relatives drove on all day long and into the night. And while they traveled along, they looked at the strange houses and different mountains. And they thought about their dark purple grapes waiting at home in Virginia. But they thought about us too, missing them. And they missed us. And when they were finally home in Virginia, they crawled into their silent, soft beds and dreamed about next summer. The end.
Okay, so who came to visit? The relatives. And where did they come from?
Virginia.
Virginia, right. So now I want you to turn back to your partner and discuss with them the order in which things happened. So first, the relatives came from Virginia. Then what happened next? Here, Jackson, you want to be? Got it, Jackson? Okay, back up here. So what did we say first? Good job. What did we say first?
I first Virginia. First relatives went to Virginia.
Yeah, in the summer, the relatives came to visit. That was the first thing they did. Okay, what's the second?
Ice chest.
They brought an ice chest, which is a
Cooler.
cooler. They had to drive very far
Mountain.
with the mountains. Yeah. When they got to the house, what'd they do?
Eat. Hug.
They hugged. Good. They hugged and they hugged, and then somebody said it
4 hours.
for 4 hours. Yeah.
Relative.
Who said they
Where's
eat?
the house?
Daniel, was that you? They made huge meals and they ate good. And then
Relative.
what'd they do at night?
Sleep.
Sleep all in the same room, didn't they? In one big room. Everyone found a place to sleep. Okay?
But not one girl.
But one girl,
Yeah, her had her eyes open.
her eyes open. And then they enjoyed each other's company. Right? Did they help them any? Did the relatives help any around the house? They helped them around the house. And then what's the last thing that happened? Colts.
They went back to Virginia.
And then it was time for them to go back home. That's right. Okay, so we went over, this is called retelling the story. We retold the story, went over some key vocabulary words. Now, I'm going to give you each piece of paper that looks like this. Okay, all these pictures are the same as our order up here, right? So you're going to cut them out and glue them in order on this orange piece of paper. Okay? I'm going to leave these up here so you have something to peek at. These ones don't have the captions under it. Okay? But these ones do.
What captions?
That means these words under the picture.
Yeah.
Okay? I'll have you go back to your seats and get out your scissors and your glue, and I'll come by with these papers. How about yes? Did you get this? No? Your tummy's growling. You didn't?
Oh, maybe it did have food because we're late.
You're late.
So that's I got new glue. I got some glue.
Yeah, that was just one. So the title, The Relatives Came, will be at the top. Oh, thanks, Layla.